Aloha, my name is Shotaro Dabbs, and I'm running for State Senate District 12, which encompasses Ala Moana, Kaka'ako, Macaulay, Mo'ili'ili, and Waikīkī. I was born and raised in Waikīkī and had a pretty interesting life. I had a dad who went to prison, who was homeless, and I had a single mom who worked long hours just to make sure that we had food on the table and a roof over our heads. I went to Waikīkī Elementary, Kaimuki Middle, and then Kalani High School, where at 16, I dropped out and got my GED. Since 16, I've been working full-time in all types of industries, from food, hospitality, and mostly retail. One day, I applied for a job at the Hawaii State Capitol and was lucky enough to get a legislative aid position with one of the representatives. The very first day I started, I immediately fell in love with the job. I knew I wanted to be in politics, I wanted to be in the Capitol, and I eventually wanted to run for office. The reason I'm running is to make sure that no kid has to go through the same type of life my family has had to go through and that many of us are going through right now. I humbly ask for your support and helping my campaign and to hopefully becoming your senator and to represent you in State Senate District 12. Mahalo.
Youth advocates have been trying to get flavored tobacco and vape products banned statewide in Hawaii for years, but nothing much has changed. What will you do to make this happen and protect kids' health?
Aloha. Our current legislators have failed in protecting our keiki. In my campaign, I've stated that I would champion and advocate for bans on flavored tobacco. If elected senator, I would introduce bills that would prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco in our state, as well as working with my fellow legislators on the detrimental effects of flavored tobacco products on our keiki. Thank you.
I see a lot of homeless people in our community, and it really bothers me. If you get elected, how will you help them find homes and get the support they need?
Thank you. As someone whose family has experienced homelessness and instability in housing, the challenge of affording to live in a rapidly developing district is a constant struggle for many. I will push for more affordable housing projects. This includes streamlining costly regulations that hurt working and middle-class families, enforcing affordability requirements on publicly funded housing projects, and supporting Hawaii Public Housing Authority and Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation's plans to build and renovate housing. No discussion on housing, however, is complete without discussing the troubled Hawaiian homelands. If elected senator, I will work with my colleagues to tackle the waitlist backlog and make sure the state legislature pays for what it owes to the Native Hawaiians. Thank you.
Why is food so expensive in Hawaii compared to other places? What would you do to help families like mine afford healthier food?
I was born and raised in Waikīkī, and I currently live there. Tourism is the heart of our economy, but as COVID-19 showed us, that heavily relying on this industry wreaked havoc on our economy. My first goal, if elected, is to support our local farmers by investing in modern agricultural techniques and providing financial assistance to farmers. This will help boost food production and reduce our dependency on imports. Creating a cooperative networks and local food hubs can help farmers reach new markets and increase their profitability. We need to build a more resilient and diverse economy. Thank you.
With natural disasters happening more often because of climate change, are we ready to protect people here? What will you do to keep us safe?
Thank you for the question. We are not ready for the intense challenges Hawaii faces from climate change. We're already seeing the negative impacts of sea level rise, extreme weather events, and flooding in Waikīkī, where I live. Boosting resilience is a key priority of mine. Partial restorations of the wetlands and natural environments in Waikīkī, Macaulay, Mo'ili'ili, Ala Moana, and Kaka'ako are crucial to combating worsening floods. I will work with the city and federal officials to get the troubled Alawai Flood Control Project back on track. Funding extra projects to strengthen telephone and electrical lines is also a top priority of mine. Thank you.
My parents both have to work more than one job just to support our family. Why is that? And what would you do to help families not have to struggle so much?
Thank you for the question. As affordability and rising costs are worsening, I have also experienced this. I dropped out of high school at 16 to get a job to support my family and help make ends meet. There's simply not enough good-paying jobs or opportunity for people, especially younger people, to afford to live in Hawaii. Part of the solution will be ensuring working people get a fair wage, aligning minimum wage increases to mitigate inflationary pressures. We also need to strengthen the education to our skilled labor pipeline. You don't have to go to college to be successful. Our state needs more skilled labor, and I'll help steer funds towards boosting apprenticeships and create more technical schools to fill critical labor shortfalls. Our current government regulations make it prohibitive for developers to build anything but the most expensive luxury units. Let's slash red tape to ease costs on lower income housing. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Sharon Moriwaki, your senator, representing the most dynamic and diverse district in the state, Senate District 12, Waikīkī, Ala Moana, Makalimoʻiliʻili, Sheridan, and Kaka'ako. Let me share with you my background, my major accomplishments, and why I'm seeking re-election. First, my background. I grew up in the Sheridan neighborhood, went to Kaimuki High School. My parents both worked and had to take out a loan so I could go to college. I came home with a doctorate and a law degree, and I've been in public service ever since. In Governor Waihei's cabinet as Labor Deputy Director and Human Resources Director, in the judiciary as Administrative Director of the courts, and at the University of Hawaii as Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs and faculty at the UH Manoa Public Policy Center. As Senator, I served in the Housing and the Health and Human Services Committees, Chair of the Government Operations and the Labor and Technology Committees, and currently Vice Chair of Ways and Means, the Senate Money Committee, and Chair of its capital improvement projects. But for me, it all started 7 years ago when my neighbors and I were concerned about the luxury high-rise condos coming up all around us, selling for millions to offshore investors. We couldn't stop the Kaka'ako Development Board from approving the developments, nor did we get help from our state senator. So we ran our own candidate, me, giving our area a voice in what happens here. When elected, I pledged to take our voices to the Senate. Now we have a board that listens to the community, laws, policies, and funding that serve we the people, not special interests. My platform was to build housing for residents, including the homeless, attack crime and drug addiction, and help kupuna continue living at home. And with your support, more than 40 of my bills have been signed into law. They cover concerns you brought to me in your phone calls and emails at neighborhood board meetings and in our annual survey. We've built housing for residents, attacked crime, substance abuse, and homelessness, help kupuna remain in their homes, and support them when they are too frail to remain there. Responded to COVID by helping over 200 residents get their unemployment insurance claims processed, and worked to protect our coastline against sea level rise and to stop excessive noise. Still, our work is not done, and that's why I seek re-election. For example, ending homelessness. 3 years ago, I called together 14 agency heads, the police department, the prosecutor, the public defender, homeless outreach and social service agencies, homeless coordinators for the city and the state, and the state departments of corrections, health, and of human services, and the courts. We came up with 29 gaps to end homelessness. We took 7 of them to the legislature that year. All passed and became law. We brought homeless numbers down, for example, 15% fewer in Waikīkī between 2022 and 2024. But we all agree that's just not enough. In the coming year, we seek a statewide information clearinghouse to match unsheltered homeless to housing and services, a permanent homeless serving community outreach court, an expansion of a pilot medical detox program that has proven to be 80% successful, and working with law enforcement agencies to measure the effectiveness of the habitual violent offender law we just passed. We need to work on so much more. For example, Kupuna-focused long-term care system with supportive housing for elders too frail to live at home, and nature-inspired solutions to sea level rise along Hawaii's only urban coastline. To continue all this work on your behalf, I ask for your vote in the November 5th general election. My pledge continues to listen to you, work with you, and be your voice in the Senate. Together, we will build a caring Hawaii. Mahalo and aloha.
Youth advocates have been trying to get flavored tobacco and vape products banned statewide in Hawaii for years, but nothing much has changed. What will you do to make this happen and protect kids' health?
I've always supported protecting our keiki from unhealthy tobacco use. I supported the current state law that prohibits the sale or use of tobacco products and electronic smoking devices to anyone under 21. Some may believe that the law preempts the counties from passing stricter ordinances like the one passed by the city last year. To me, the city's ordinance does not conflict with state law and should stand, as long as the county law maintains the state ban on the sale and purchase of tobacco products, flavored, minted or not, or electronic smoking devices.
I see a lot of homeless people in our community, and it really bothers me. If you get elected, how will you help them find homes and get the support they need?
It bothers me that folks are living on the streets and in parks. In 2019, I called together 14 agency heads from the police to the courts to tell us why the homeless numbers keep growing even as we put millions into their programs. Our group came up with 29 gaps to end homelessness. We then took 7 bills to the legislature, all passed into law. Today, we have a statewide homelessness and housing solutions office. They have permanent funding and staff and are building kauhale for the homeless. We appropriated over $200 million to build affordable housing. We funded a behavioral crisis intervention center for homeless who endanger themselves or others. We also funded a medical detox program to get homeless off drugs and alcohol. I continue to work with and support our state, city, and community partners as we advance solutions to end homelessness.
Why is food so expensive in Hawaii compared to other places? What would you do to help families like mine afford healthier food?
The reality, Hawaii is the most distant populated landmass in the world, and we import 90% of our food. That means we pay more for food than anything else that's shipped into our state. Better to grow more of our own food. The Agriculture Department supports local farmers. We support agricultural education at the high schools, and the Department of Education is encouraged to buy local, healthier food for our students. Please help educate mom and dad to buy local, all to increase local production and lower the cost of local grown food.
With natural disasters happening more often because of climate change, are we ready to protect people here? What will you do to keep us safe?
My district includes Waikīkī and Kaka'ako, low-lying coastal communities. We're working on adaptation to sea level rise and climate change. We funded the Waikīkī Resilience and Adaptation Project, or WRAP, to bring the science of climate change and sea level rise to our community to help us develop a community-based plan for Waikīkī. WRAP just completed phase 1, and we're working on the next phase, including beach restoration and nature-inspired solutions that protect our coastline. We also changed the law so that all new kaka'ako developments must consider sea level rise. Please, each and every one of you join me in protecting our Kaka'ako waterfront coastline from any new high-rise luxury towers, and instead support nature-inspired solutions to keep our Aina safe for us and for generations to come.
My parents both have to work more than one job just to support our family. Why is that? And what would you do to help families not have to struggle so much?
Hawaii's major problem is the cost of housing. It is unfortunate that parents have to work several jobs to keep a roof over their heads. We've been helping local families, especially the working poor, with rent supplement and other programs. Last session, we passed the biggest tax cut in the state's history, so workers can keep the money they gain from minimum wage increases we passed the year before. We also help with health care costs by exempting doctors and dentists from adding general excise tax to Medicare, TRICARE, or Medicaid patients' bills. Over $200 million went to build more affordable housing, and we increased the rent supplement fund to help families struggling to pay rent to stay in their homes. But we need to do more, and I will continue to support programs to help families overcome these challenges.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Representative Gene Ward, and I'm running for re-election to the House of Representatives to continue serving you, the great people of Hawaii, and the great people of the state of Hawaii. Okay, Ward, who are you? What are some of the things you want to do, and what's some of the background and things that you have for us to know about you? First, let me say this. I have the honor of representing the people of Hawaii to Kalama Valley since 2006, and I feel very strongly my work is not yet finished. My background is in small business, international development. For example, I served in the Peace Corps as a volunteer in North Borneo, and later as a Peace Corps country director in East Timor. I had 46 great volunteers doing humanitarian work and healthcare assistance in the remote villages of East Timor. I'm also a former United Nations Chief Technical Advisor who served 2 years in Malawi. Great experience, great people in Malawi. After that, I was a Bush presidential appointee at USAID in Washington, D.C., and those are the guys that run the foreign aid program throughout the world. One other background note, I should mention I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I served as a translator-interpreter in South Vietnam. Nhưng mà bây giờ tôi quên hết rồi. Xin lỗi ông. Xin lỗi các bà. Which is, if you're Vietnamese, you know that I apologize for my lack of linguistic prowess. I also earned a PhD from the UH, studying Hawaiians in business compared to Caucasians in business. Now, on a family note, my wife and I built our house in Upper Haione Valley in Hawaii in 1978, and we have lived there ever since. We have one daughter who is now a lawyer in Boston, and I can't wait till she can come back home. But enough about me. Let's talk about the issues and what needs to be done to make Hawaii and our people a better place. Let me first outline some of the issues of the 2024 legislative session and what we left on the table. It's embarrassing, if not shameful. We left on the table condo homeowners insurance. It's a crisis now. Prices have literally gone through the roofs. Our kapuna and elderly on fixed incomes are panicking with rate increases, 300 to 500, even the 1,000% increases. This is wrong and was not dealt with in the 2024 session. My district is up in arms over these increases, and my office has a town hall meeting, which I hope all of you will attend, July 2nd, Haione Elementary School, 6 p.m. The 24 legislative session also underfunded the rebuilding and the restoration of Maui following the September wildfires. Those things actually were unacceptable. Maui has an estimated $6 billion that they need to recover. Right now, we've only actually given half of that money to them. And if these two crises were not enough, look what's going on with our power utilities. Not only blackouts, but they may actually be bankrupt. I am not an apologist for HECO, but I know if a mainland company takes over and buys out HECO, and I don't know how much they would get for it, then they would simply be a huge increase in the prices that we are now paying. The problem is the legislature never gave them an ability to have a 3 to 5% increase so they could borrow money and pay off a lot of these debts that they had and be able to buy services. So right now there's three major concerns in my office in addition to the things that we left on the table. The first is Hawaiian issues. We have tried to help the Hawaiians for 100 years, and basically what we've given them are broken promises. Right now, after 100 years, only 10,000 homestead leases are available. 29,000 are on the wait list. If we want to learn more about the broken promises made to the Hawaiians, go to my website and you'll see all. The second biggest concern is Alice families. That is the working poor. And I'm embarrassed to say, as an elected official, that half of the people in this state cannot afford a roof over their head or food on the table. This is totally unacceptable. It's quite frankly a disgrace, and given all the assets we have as the state of Hawaii, should never be the case. And this leads to the final big concern that I have for my office. We need to diversify our economy. We can be the Hollywood of the Pacific. We can be the sports center of the Pacific. We can do all of the things with high-paying jobs rather than those which are now basically visitor industry areas. And now we've got 15,000 people who are leaving every year. We need a job-creating entrepreneurial area. I hope over these last few minutes, you know a few things about me, you know a few things about the issues. I love my job. I'm Representative Gene Ward. I work for you, the people of Hawaii. Let me know what your needs are. You know who I am now. Thank you for viewing. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Tina Nakada Grandinetti. I'm running to represent State House District 20, which consists of Kapahulu, Kaimuki, Diamond Head, and Waialae Kahala, and I'm humbly asking for your vote to serve you in the State House. I'm running because I've watched as it's become harder and harder for local people to thrive in Hawaii. Our current system isn't working for working families. But if we're bold, if we work hard, and if we're compassionate to one another, we can build a future where local people can afford to live in Hawaii and raise our keiki to care for the lands and waters that make our home so special. That means fighting for a housing market that serves local people, investing in quality public education, early child care, and kupuna care, expanding access to healthcare, diversifying our economy, and developing a sustainable local food system. No legislator can make all of these changes on their own. But we need political leadership that brings all of us together to work toward the common good. I believe I'm the right person for the job, and I'm proud of the experience and dedication that I bring to the table. I had the privilege of running the office of State House Representative Amy Peruso for 3 years and took an active role in working with advocates to write and advance bills relating to housing, tax fairness, education, and local agriculture. I know how the legislature works, and I know how it doesn't. I also bring policy expertise. I earned a PhD in urban studies focusing on Hawaii's housing crisis, and I currently work at a National Policy Institute to support communities across the country who are facing displacement and gentrification. I've been a vocal advocate against monster homes and upzoning measures that would open our district to irresponsible development and speculation. Finally, I have a demonstrated track record of community leadership. I was a founding member of the Oʻahu Water Protectors, which fought to shut down Red Hill after our aquifer was poisoned by jet fuel. As a member of the Honolulu Tenants Union, I helped efforts to try to stop the eviction of 130 families who were being displaced to make way for a luxury high-rise. I've also taught political science classes to undergraduate students at UH and early college students at Roosevelt High School. I love our community so much, and if elected, I'm committed to not just representing District 20, but to actively listening to, informing, and empowering our community to engage in the issues that matter. Please go to my website, tinaforhawaii.com, to learn more about where I stand on the issues. I hope you'll give me the opportunity to serve you as your representative. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Corinne Solomon, and I am running to represent House District 20, which includes Diamond Head, Kapahulu, Kaimuki, and Kahala. As a longtime resident and parent of a Waikīkī elementary student, I come from a humble background shaped by hard work in my family's restaurant. I was born in Japan, and my father was an immigrant from North Africa. I was the first in my family to attend college, and I pursued a career in healthcare as a hospital pharmacist. My work has involved creating new hospital pharmacy services from scratch, where the pharmacist is integrated into the medical team in specialty areas or given direct patient care roles in the hospital and clinics. This kind of work requires a thorough knowledge of regulations, countless hours of research, data analysis, and policy writing to ensure you're providing the highest standards of patient care. I love teaching. I have taught nurses in hospital classes and healthcare students at Kapiolani Community College. A large part of my hospital work was educating patients. Patient education, along with teaching, has honed my ability to communicate complex information but make it easy for people to understand. I am retired now, but my career in healthcare has given me a strong foundation in policy work and taught me the importance of listening, empathy, and meticulous attention to detail, all qualities that will help me to be an effective and compassionate lawmaker. My first experience in our district was about 20 years ago when I was a pharmacy resident and did a rotation at Liahi Hospital. We've seen changes since then, some good, like the development of the Culinary Institute and the Diamond Head Trail, but also changes that are detrimental to our community, like the massive increase in homelessness and the rising cost of living, which just keeps getting worse. Did you know our resident population is declining? It's been heartbreaking to see friends and family we know move to the mainland because they can't afford to live here. I'm worried the same will happen to my daughter when she gets older. It's also hard to recruit the teachers, doctors, and other workers we need when our cost of living is so high. We need to give our families and young adults more opportunities to prosper. If I'm elected, I will prioritize reforms that lower housing and living costs and support small businesses. When we foster growth and economic diversity and lower the cost of living, more residents will be able to stay in Hawaii and not have to make the tough decision to move. I've followed the legislature closely now for several years, experiencing firsthand the hurdles in the lawmaking process. I've testified on and supported bills that would improve access to health care, only to see them stall in committees or fail to be passed. Too often, good bills die and bad bills are passed into law. I've even written bills that have been sponsored by our minority caucus, but the bills never received committee hearings. You can have really good ideas that should have bipartisan support, but it's hard to get your bills heard when you're in the minority. For over 60 years, we have had a single party dominate our political landscape. This has resulted in some very harsh realities. We have the highest cost of living in the nation, the highest per capita percentage of homelessness, the second highest housing costs, and an environment that is anything but friendly to small businesses. This election brings an opportunity for change. By electing me to represent you and District 20, we can move toward having a more balanced legislature, which is crucial for effective governance. We can amplify the minority voices at our Capitol that believe in limited government, reform, and individual liberty as the keys to prosperity. State governments function best with checks and balances, and a healthy government ultimately benefits the people. I believe in leading by example. That's why I pledge to donate 20% of my salary back to the community. I will seek your input to help decide where this money is needed most, whether it's for our public schools or a community garden, for example. I would love to share more of my vision with you and listen to your ideas. To contact me, take my community survey, or get involved with my campaign, please visit solomonforhawaii.com. Change is going to take time, but we can accelerate the timeline now by voting. I invite you to participate in a friendly challenge. Let's get family members and neighbors on board and make District 20 the district with the highest voter turnout in the state. I humbly ask for your vote in the upcoming election, and it would be an honor to serve you and our District 20 community. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Jackson Sayama, and I'm running for re-election to be District 21's Hawaii State House representative. Being born and raised in this district, I'm proud to represent my fellow neighbors in the legislature, advocating for legislation to improve the lives of our local families, schools, and businesses. This past session, I helped pass a bill giving residents a historic tax break and secured much-needed funding to improve our school facilities. Beyond the Capitol, I've been active in our community, meeting residents at their house, cleaning our public spaces with community partners, and bringing government resources to address neighborhood issues. If re-elected to a third term, I will continue to dedicate myself to serve this district and the state, focusing on critical issues like condominium governance reform, redeveloping underutilized state properties for housing, and improving traffic safety. During this election, I look forward to talking story with you and working with you to build a better Hawaii, one that we could be proud of and thrive in. My name is Jackson Sayama, and I humbly ask you for your vote, and thank you for your support.
Hi, my name is Joelle Seashell. I'm running for State House of Representatives for District 21. District 21 is comprised of St. Louis Heights, Palolo, Wilhelmina Rise, and it goes out over Wailea through Harding. I currently live in Palolo. I have a 35-pound dog and some egg-laying hens. My husband and I would like to have a baby, but it's so expensive here on the islands, we're making sure we have everything in order for that. That said, I'm running for office because I'm seeing some serious issues come up in how our representatives are drawing up legislation and voting. And I've been submitting testimony and trying to fight back against some of these things that are just nonsensical. And I don't feel like my testimony and what I am relaying is being received by our representatives at the Capitol. And so the reason why I'm running for office is to give the constituents in my district a different option when it comes to making sure that their voices and their best interests are heard. I have received no funds during this election cycle. I owe nobody anything except for the people who would elect me into office. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of Hawaiʻi, and that is my focus. I don't believe that we've seen proper use of our taxpayer dollars when our politicians are deciding to send our money off overseas to help other countries. We're struggling here in our own house, and we need to take care of our own family. Things that are concerning to me as far as other legislation that's being passed is when they got rid of coal only to replace it with oil. So they took the least expensive fossil fuel and replaced it with the most expensive fossil fuel. And the pollution when burning both is essentially the same. So really what it did is it just rose the price of electricity and put additional financial pressure on the people living on these islands. Additionally, the gentleman I'm running against, a young gentleman who went to college in Shanghai, China, and is proud to boast that kind of credential, he has drawn up legislation in his last legislative session to tax every barrel of oil, I believe, starting at $3.50 a barrel, going up incrementally so that by the year 2040, there would be something like an additional $42 of tax on each barrel of oil. Now, if you increase the price of oil, it's going to increase the price of everything, including food. And so my question is, when you have a 24-year-old down at the Capitol coming up with this kind of legislation, I don't believe it to be his brainchild. I believe it to be marching orders that he's receiving that's a part of his party agenda, which essentially is to raise the cost of living so high on every aspect of our lives so that they back us into socialism, which ultimately is rooted in communism. And so we have to stand up, we have to fight against these young Marxists who have never run businesses, who have never worked a long-term career out there and paid taxes the way the rest of us have. I think we need term limits. I think these legislators who are at the Capitol need to be able to come out of the Capitol after working there for a set amount of time and live under the terrible legislation and policy that they've inflicted and oppressed upon us all. Anytime you have a one-party state, as Hawaii has been for the last 60 years, it's been under Democratic Party rule. Anytime you have a one-party state, it's an imbalanced situation that leads to the will of the people being overlooked and stampeded on. And so that's why I'm running for office, to give the constituents in my district an opportunity to vote for somebody who would actually stand for them. As I may have mentioned before, I have received no funds during this election cycle. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and an oath to uphold the Constitution of Hawaii. I'm a patriot, and it's time we fight back against these terrible policies, legislation, and regulations that are coming out of the Capitol. God bless you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me out. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can email me or you can call me. Thank you so much.
Aloha, my name is Ikaika M, and I am running for the Hawaii State House of Representatives District 23 seat. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here on Oʻahu by a hard-working, middle-class family. My father was a proud IBEW 1260 union member who worked for Hawaiian Electric for nearly 40 years. My mother, a former nurse at Castle Hospital and a member of the Hawaii Nurses Association. My parents instilled in me a sense of humility, respect, and duty. They taught me to always be grateful for what I have and to give back to my community in whatever ways I can. After the 9/11 attacks, I felt a compelling need to serve our country. Upon graduating from Kailua High School, I eagerly enlisted. I served 8 years as a U.S. Army infantryman with 2 combat deployments to Iraq. Returning home, I met my beautiful wife Tracy and moved into a small studio apartment in Mo'iliili in 2010. Since then, we got married, purchased our first home in Mo'iliili, and were blessed with 2 boys, Alika and Tai, who currently attend Marino. I went on to earn my bachelor's and master's degrees in psychology, where I focused my research on mental health disorders and substance abuse, along with strategies to address those issues. For the last decade, I have been working directly with the homeless population within our district as a social worker, first with Waikīkī Health, and now with the DOE's Homeless Concerns Office, where I work with an average of 400 families each school year. So now, let's talk about why I'm running. To be honest, I never had any previous desire or aspiration to be a politician. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight and to quietly serve my community by making a positive impact with one of the district's most crucial issues, homelessness. I felt like I was doing my part, but that all changed when our 83-year-old neighbor was burglarized in broad daylight. While we were all grateful no one was hurt during the incident, it shattered the illusion of safety for my family. I was concerned for their well-being, so I began to ask questions. And the answers I received were disappointing. Then, in January of this year, my son's kindergarten teacher fell victim to a heinous acid attack at Ala Moana Shopping Center. A line had been crossed, and I was fed up. After speaking to thousands of our neighbors in the district, there's one common phrase that everyone tells me: I don't feel safe anymore. It's heartbreaking to hear this, but it highlights just how bad things have gotten in our community. That's why I'm running, to make public safety the priority at the Capitol. With my extensive specialized experience working directly with the key issues, I'll address homelessness with an experience-based, multifaceted strategy that focuses on cleaning up our streets and parks. I'll push for legislation that gets tough on crime, that ends the revolving door that we see with our current judicial situation. I will be a strong supporter of our schools to ensure that our teachers and staff are given what they need to provide a quality education for our keiki. Lastly, I'll strive to build more affordable housing, especially for those experiencing poverty, housing instability, and for our kapuna, so that they can age with dignity and security. Mo'iliili has been my home for almost 15 years, and our family goes back 5 generations in this community. This is where my wife and I have decided to set down roots and raise our children, but we must do something now. It's time we elected someone with the education, the training, and the specialized experience to fight for our community. My whole life has been dedicated to service. First, by serving our country on the battlefield. Then, by serving our community in the streets and parks of our neighborhoods. Now, I'm asking for you to allow me to continue my service by serving as our representative in the State House. When you receive your ballots in the mail in July, I humbly ask that you vote for Ikaika Olds for State House, District 23. Mahalo iloa.
Aloha, my name is Jillian Anderson, and I'm running to represent beautiful Waikīkī in our Hawaii State House of Representatives. I can sit here with a smile on my face for a few minutes reciting all the popular candidate catchphrases, but if you're living in my district, or really in any district across the state for that matter, I think you would agree that this is not a time in Hawaii's history where you can simply pick the easy or familiar choice and expect things to somehow get better. When my family moved to Waikīkī when I was just 3 years old, Hawaii was much closer to the paradise outsiders envision. Of course things were expensive, but with hard work, it was manageable. Yes, there was crime, but not enough to make you fearful to walk the streets day or night. And there was homelessness. But when I was growing up, I recall a handful of unfortunate, though regular, individuals. Now my commute to work from Waikīkī to our Hawaii state capital, which runs down just 2 streets, Kalakaua and Beretania, I can easily see a dozen different faces on any given morning. The Hawaii of today is not that of my past, and if things keep going where they seem to be headed, I frankly don't know if I want it to be my future. I trust we all see these problems, but you may be asking, what makes me qualified to do anything about it? Well, for any of you that have ever taken an interest in our state government, you will know that not just anyone can walk into our state capitol building and navigate the insanely complex legislative process. Though for the last 3 legislative sessions, I have had a front row seat to watch how the game is played. Back in 2022, I served as a legislative researcher and analyst, and for the last 2 years, I have been the chief of staff for one of our longest-serving legislators. Yet through it all, the most frustrating thing I've witnessed is how little is actually getting done for the people of Hawaii. I see our legislators' grasp of our problems as one of 3 levels. The first is ignorance, not recognizing the extent of issues or at times even acknowledging that they're issues at all, not introducing policy on important topics, and if it is introduced, not giving it the time of day, or worst of all, ignoring the will of the people and killing measures that have widespread support. The second level is awareness. That is where the bulk of our issues lie. Our legislators are aware. They live in our communities, drive our roads, shop in our local stores. They receive your emails and phone calls, hear your concerns, but in the end, they really don't do anything about it. They don't apply their energies to moving legislation regarding it along. They don't exude an urgency. We simply sit in stagnation, stick to the status quo. And I have to say, sometimes it is hard to blame them, because in our capital, it is an unspoken rule to not rock the boat. Though, as we wait for our legislators to shift their focuses to what's going on outside of our big square building rather than to try to conform to what's going on within it, prices keep rising. Homelessness becomes tougher to tackle. Our infrastructure keeps deteriorating. The list goes on. Finally, we have the last and rarest level, action. Your representative sees your issue and moves heaven and earth to do something about it. They introduce legislation. It may go nowhere, as most does, but they seek workarounds or accept partial solutions. They hold frequent town halls and community events. They survey your thoughts and keep you posted on the latest happening in your neighborhood. They don't accept no for an answer and know that when there is a will, there is a way. That is the example being set by the representative I currently work for. When I say something is not possible, I am directed to a plaque on his desk that says, "It can be done," just as President Reagan had on his desk in the Oval Office. It is this spirit, drive, and tenacity that proves we do not and should not accept things as they are. I know the challenges of our current system. I see its flaws, though I also see its many opportunities. And Waikīkī needs someone fighting for them who pursues such possibilities to better a district that is objectively, in many ways, on a decline. One of my favorite quotes, coined by Teddy Roosevelt, is "Keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground." We need people in government who can balance aspirations with practical, common sense ways to get there. And I know I am the best choice for Waikīkī to get that done. Like what you're hearing? Head to www.jillian4hawaii.com to learn more about me, aid in my campaign efforts, or join the team. This is the year we take back our Waikīkī. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Adrian Tam, and I'm a local boy born and raised here in Hawaii and a proud graduate of our public schools, Kalani High School if you're wondering. For the past 3 years, I've had the honor and privilege of serving you as your state representative representing District 24, which encompasses Waikīkī, Mo'iliili, and parts of Ala Moana. I first ran for office to better our community and Hawaii. I ran because of people like me who have the same resume and upbringing, but are being priced out of Hawaii simply because we can no longer afford to live here. As your representative, I proudly supported and championed a major income tax cut proposal so more working families will have a higher take-home pay. I supported innovative housing policies to increase our housing supply so more people can stay here, and supported funding towards new industries to help diversify our economy to create more jobs for people. However, I am most proud of advocating for our neighborhood and you. Working with our neighbors, we passed a pilot program to decrease noise pollution on our roads so we could sleep quieter at night. We secured critical funding in capital improvement projects and grants and aids for our district. and made our streets safer while addressing the needs of some of our most vulnerable populations. Because of that, Honolulu is the #1 safest city to visit in the world. Throughout the time of my service, it has always been a team effort. I am grateful every day for all our neighbors and our businesses that work with our office to help better our community. And I look forward to continuing that collaborative partnership. It would be an honor to represent you again as your state representative. To learn more about me, you can visit www.adrianforhawaii.com. Mahalo, and I humbly ask for your support.
Youth advocates have been trying to get flavored tobacco and vape products banned statewide in Hawaii for years, but nothing much has changed. What will you do to make this happen and protect kids' health?
Wow, thank you so much for your question. I can tell you're so smart and you care about your health and the health of your fellow classmates. I 100% support getting flavored tobacco and vape products banned statewide. And I think that we need to work together. One thing we have to do is change hearts and minds across the political world and across Hawaii so that people know that this is a good idea. Only when we do that can we finally get people on our side to start passing this good legislation, because it is about your health. You are our future. Thank you so much for your question.
I see a lot of homeless people in our community, and it really bothers me. If you get elected, how will you help them find homes and get the support they need?
Wow, thank you so much for your question and for caring about our homeless community. Everyone deserves a home, just like you and just like me. One thing that we can do is to build more housing so that housing is within reach for so many people, not just who are homeless, but for people like you and for me. We also need to open up shelter space and make sure that they can stay during the day so they're not out on the streets where it's very hot and they can get sick. It's back to their health. It is back to how do we get them housing, and I really appreciate you caring about this, and this is one of my top priorities, is making sure that we get homes for them.
Why is food so expensive in Hawaii compared to other places? What would you do to help families like mine afford healthier food?
You know, you're absolutely right. Food is really, really expensive here. And one of the reasons why it's so expensive is because we have to import them in, meaning we ship them from places like California. What we can do to help that is to support our local farmers here by providing incentives so they can continue to grow food and make sure that their food is very affordable for the families like you and me, so that we can continue not just to eat healthier, but also eat locally here. That way we don't have to ship our food in. Hopefully we can be more sustainable by supporting our farmers.
With natural disasters happening more often because of climate change, are we ready to protect people here? What will you do to keep us safe?
Thank you so much for your question. Think about who climate change really affects. It affects your generation. And that is why it's up to us as leaders to take it really seriously. What we can do right now is basically plan ahead on how do we protect our communities from the devastating effects of climate change and these natural disasters such as wildfires and flooding. We need to start doing things to basically make sure that these things don't happen, or at least we're protected from it. Long-term wise, Hawaii is the first state to target 100% renewable energy, and I'm excited about that because that's going to protect your generation.
My parents both have to work more than one job just to support our family. Why is that? And what would you do to help families not have to struggle so much?
Thank you so much for your question. And I'm so sorry your parents have to work 2 jobs just to get by. For me, I work 2 jobs too. And I understand this struggle because I think 1 job should be enough. It's really hard in Hawaii because we have a housing crisis. And what do we have to do? We have to build more so we can continue to house our people. But we also need to fight for a livable wage so that our families only can work with 1 job so they can spend time with you every single night. And we need paid sick leave so that when you get sick, your parents can take care of you.